Ready for battle. That's equals.
Welcome to our guide on how to get good at Zarya. Perhaps the most impactful tank in the game. Highly skilled players of this Russian powerhouse will be able to protect their team better than their healers and give out more damage than their DPS teammates. The base damage of the laser on this pink-haired vodka enthusiast is 95 damage per second, which is pretty fucking powerful on its own. If the player has an aim that is anything better than trackpad level, considering the single target damage is already over 50% higher than Winston, it already has a disgusting potential for damage. The right clicks on the other hand do roughly half the amount of punishment, but is able to inflict splash damage and can potentially hit multiple enemies at once. However, it is when we start getting barriers involved when this gym addicted piece of shit gets up to insane levels of powerful. Barriers allow players to block damage for their team as well as power up their own weapon, meaning that you can literally throw damage right back at the idiots who try to get in your way. Once your charge intensity reach the maximum levels, you are arguably more dangerous than any DPS character could otherwise be. Doing a total of 190 damage per second, you are likely to either wipe the entire team by yourself or tilt the other team off the face of the fucking earth while they scream at their Junkrat player to play anyone else. This isn't even considering any damage boosting factors that would cause more chaos than a mighty Siberian tiger being let loose inside a Russian gulag. The barriers themselves are their own skill set to learn and perfect. She gets one barrier for her personal use and another that can be placed on teammates. The barriers are functionally exactly the same. However, her personal barrier has a cooldown of 10 seconds, while the team-oriented one has a cooldown of just 8 seconds. The barriers last for 2 seconds, or 200 damage, whatever comes first, meaning that it's not a reliable way to consistently shield your team, rather a way to save their asses for the stupid fucking mistakes they make for themselves. There are generally two widely used schools of thought when looking at these barriers. The first philosophy is to use the barriers in order to empower yourself to make the big plays for your team. This works best when your own damage dealers aren't getting shit done and you decide you want to melt the other team yourself. The second school of thought is that your barriers should be used to enable your team and that becoming stronger is a side effect of doing this successfully. This is the discipline that is much more powerful once a player has fully mastered it, so let's break it down further. As a general rule, you want to be using the personal barrier in order to charge up your weapon and save your projected barrier to either enable or bail out teammates that could need it. The reason behind this is that there will be countless opportunities to use the barrier on your teammates. With every enemy hook, Reinhardt pin, or self-destruct, there will be a chance to save your team and perhaps the entire match. However, the barrier can also be used offensively, such as when a tank decides to engage in a team fight, or when a DPS teammate needs support wiping the other team. However, if one of your barriers happen to be on cooldown in a critical moment, always remember that they can be used to block potential damage in a thin line behind it, further frustrating D.Va and Reinhardt mains everywhere. As for the personal barrier, it is usually better suited to generate weapon charge because it's much more reliable, and Zarya, as a hero, is comparatively very survivable. She has the smallest hitbox of any tank. Half her health pool regenerates automatically, and she can mitigate all damage to herself on a short cooldown. Enemy players who underestimate your survivability will end up looking even worse than the legendary industrial skin. However, none of what has just been discussed is the real reason people choose to play this strong Soviet piece of shit. The real reason to play her is because her ultimate ability is one of, if not the most powerful ultimate in the game. Being able to suck an entire enemy team helplessly into a tight space brings about more collective arousal for your team than a furry convention visiting a zoo. If your team is even halfway decent, they'll be able to easily eliminate anyone caught in the vortex, because this is one of the things that should be easier than shooting fish in a barrel. A player must be mindful, however, as the sound of your ultimate firing will instantly trigger panic for both the other team and your own. It is not unlikely for every DPS on your team to immediately use their own ultimate in order to secure an easy play of the game, as well as both the support players on the opposite team to pop their ultimates in an effort to keep their team in the fight. As your ultimate is so powerful, both teams are likely to center their entire ultimate economy to work around it, so baiting out Zenyatta or Lucio ultimates beforehand is often a wise strategy. That levitating idiot can ponder his own existence all he wants when he's fucking dead. Players may think that catching an entire team inside of their ultimate is an ideal situation. However, this is simply not the case. Wiping an entire team immediately is certainly a good thing. However, it forces the other team to group up, and it leaves you without any ultimate charge built for an upcoming fight. The best way to use a Graviton Surge, assuming all of your team members are still alive, is to catch and eliminate just enough people that would make winning the team fight a certainty. An easy way to ensure this is to catch 2 of the same hero roles in the ultimate. As squishier targets are easier to kill, it is recommended that using a Graviton Surge to kill both DPS or both support players is the best way to utilize the ultimate. If a team completely lacks either damage or healing, it is almost impossible for them to win a fight. Once the selected enemy players are eliminated, it is simply a matter of pushing with your team to clean up the rest of your pathetic excuse for an opposition. This both helps charge your ultimate abilities and staggers the other team for an easier engagement next fight. When setting up a Graviton Surge, always communicate with your team that they should use the smallest amount of ultimates possible to win the fight, as overcommitting to a single push may leave your team worse off in the long term. Also, keep in mind that Eva is able to swallow your ultimate simply by holding down right click. In order to avoid this devastating circumstance, consider either shooting the ultimate directly at the ground or even directly into the sky. For some even spicier plays, the enemy team will most likely believe that the Graviton was swallowed and instinctively enjoy a boost in their own confidence. However, they will soon be caught inside of its delayed vortex and will often be too confused or too reliant on the audio cue in order to rationally react. This technique should not be attempted without an extensive understanding of timing, map knowledge, and game sense, but this can be one of the most powerful ways to use the ultimate when it is executed correctly. There are a few more pieces of advice that can make your Zarya experience more successful. Always remember that a barrier will cleanse all negative effects, such as a Discord orb or the anti-healing from Arnos Jar of Magic Piss. Always remember that you are able to be creative with ultimate placements. This can often make it easy for you to secure cheeky environmental kills that are often impossible for the other team to counter. However, players must be aware that unpredictable placement may also throw off your own team and make it hard for them not to call you unsavory things over the voice chat. Also remember that Eva is incredibly easy to counter and will be melted faster than an ice cream being thrown into the sun when you're fully charged up. That will teach her for ruining everyone's fucking ultimates. However, one of the greatest tips for an aspiring Zarya main is to never waste any credits on a highlight intro, because no matter how hard you fucking try, a glory stealing DPS piece of shit will steal your play of the game every fucking time. This concludes today's guide on how to get good at our favorite Russian, whose name fucks up any text-to-speech program available. If you enjoyed this guide, I'd recommend my entire playlist on other Overwatch heroes, and if you wanted to know how this video was made, then consider supporting me on my Patreon to watch a full step-by-step process. But until next time, have fun and embrace the bullshit.